Hey Tanner, this is Adrian Gomez. Thanks for sending these in. I appreciate it. We're going to look into, what we can find um, to have you throw harder. So right now I'm looking at your back leg, and we're going to take this off of your hip. It's a little bit further up. Hips right here. So it's 103. So you got a back leg squat that looks pretty good. Back leg squat. You got a very good squat going on. Right now, when you're about to push, though, your front leg goes down. So now you can't transfer the energy into that front leg. So you have a good squat. But we need to work on transfer out of the back leg. So that's a positive. You did a good job on that. Let's look at your front knee as you plant. Okay, so you're planted here. This is we're going to look at your knee and what happens. So this is why you can't transfer as well as you should. So there's a huge change in your front knee in stabilizing. This is pretty normal. But it's about 18 degrees, so it's a little bit higher, on the higher end of instability. And we've got to firm up that front leg, because what happens is, if your knee's planted here, your back hip cannot rotate until that knee gets over. So what you're doing is you're wasting a little bit of time where your hip could be going forward, and you're trying to stabilize. If it had stabilized earlier, it would just be all positive rotation forward with that back hip. So that is a weakness for sure. You have internally rotated front knee. That's something I want you to work on, the front knee. 101 is good, but I noticed that right here you could drive farther, but you put your foot down, and we get up to 101. I think you can be up beyond 110 degrees in a few short weeks. So angle at foot strike, double angle at foot strike, I think that's something that you can improve on, for sure. So let's look at your front knee after it clears. There we go. About 122. So this is a little bit low. What that means is you have energy leaking out of this knee because it's a little bit too bent. So if we increased your angle, and what it would look like is that. So your hips would be up a little bit higher to that. And once you did this, you'd have this kind of action. Your front knee would come back, and your chest would be able to get over that front knee a little bit better. So I think the angle at when you plant, it's too bent, and that's something you can improve on. So that front knee has some work to do. So those are two weaknesses in the front knee, both internally rotated, which is pretty common, and the angle at which it plants. So we can, if you look at all the hard throwers, if you look on YouTube, look up some hard throwers that you like, and you see their front knee, it's almost locked out. I mean, it's almost straight. I would probably say 155 degrees and beyond, up to 180, with a straight line. And that's how well they're stopping, so that they can accelerate around that front leg. So that's a huge key to increasing your velocity. Okay, so that's a weakness. We're going to look at your posture at ball release. So right here, you're what we would call a B posture. This would be A, and this would be C. So all that means is that's the axis by which you rotate. And right now, you're right here with your spine and then you go in front of it, and then I come behind it. So what I'd like to see is have you move back in this position a little bit. This is going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. You look a little bit similar to that Tim Lincecum. I played with Tim Lincecum. Look up some of his videos. It looks pretty good. So if you started here, there'd be a little bit less head movement, and your axis would be a little bit corrected. All we're trying to do is get that spine on the axis by which you're going to rotate a little bit better. So if you, and this is unorthodox, so a lot of people aren't going to like this, but I found over the last 7 years, we've increased a lot of velocity on players just by getting them in the right position, because now they know how they throw. Okay. All right. So posture, trying to lock that in. Let's look at release point. Okay. So it starts here, and you're releasing over that front toe. That is too early. And part of the reason why it's too early is because, number one, this back leg is not staying down. It's coming off the ground. So as soon as your back leg comes off the ground, you instantly can't push with your chest. So there's no balance point. Part of the reason is your front knee, and part of the reason is your chest. So there's about 3 things that we can fix. The farther you can step, right? We talked about this. The farther you can step, right, means you're going to be pushing for a longer period of time. If you're pushing for a longer period of time, this back leg stays straight. If the back leg stays straight, the chest extends. So all of those things got to kind of connect in one motion. And this is what we call a triple extension. So what you'll have in a triple extension is this. You'll have a back leg that's straight, a torso that comes off of it, and an arm that comes off the torso. And you'll have it in sequence. And when you have that sequence, we get velocity. So it starts to look a little bit better. So there's a little bit of disruption in that. So your release point is a little bit too far back. We've got to really increase you getting out. Part of that has to do with your stacking. So let's look at the next one, which is stacking. So release point is an issue. We have drills for that, specific to that weakness. I like to see your front arms up early, and I'd like to see it kind of stays there, and it's late in pinching. So you'll see, I like your front glove to be down further. Okay, your front glove can always come up. I'm okay with your front glove coming up, but right now it's so high that there's no momentum up, so there's no rhythm. So what we're going to do is, I'd like to see your upper body stack back more towards your back foot. So this head should be behind your heel, or not behind the rubber, but behind your foot. And the longer you can stay and push early with your butt forward, so your butt's going this way while your upper body's staying back, and that's what we call stacking. Then right now you're in a better position to push, so you're going to push for a longer period of time. So stacking is an issue that you can improve on. Your lower body is great, like we talked about, but your upper body is hung out to dry a little bit. All right. Next thing we're going to work on is your front glove. And what happens is your front glove rotates down and your shoulder blade isn't supported. So I'm looking at symmetry here. Symmetry means that you're going to be the same on one side as you are on the other side. So right now you have, this is correct, this isn't correct. So one is up, the other one is down. So I want to make sure that this is kind of in between here. If this is up, then that shoulder blade is going to be pinched. The only reason it's not in the right position is because your arm is so high early, and by that time you should be pinching. And what happens with this is the front glove is the brake, and you are creating a brake in the front side. So because of this disconnection with that front glove, it's hard for you to rotate. It's also hard for you to rotate because you're internally rotated with your front knee. And so that stabilizes, and your front glove isn't in the right position. So you're kind of stuck in that position to get that ball through. So if we fix the front knee and we fix the front glove, my God, you're going to be rotating so much better. So that front glove is an issue. That's something that I want you to work on, and that will help a ton. All right. Now we're going to get into high elbow, low elbow. And right here, we're going to measure off of the shoulders. We have a little bit of an elevated distal humerus, which is an elevated elbow. So it's just a little bit high, and we can see it right here. Instead of, this is a good position to be in. Instead of rotating forward on that line, if I was to draw a line and I would rotate on that line somewhere in there, watch where your elbow goes. It comes up to go get it. And the reason why is because of the front knee and the front glove are not in unison, and they're not in the right place to help your backside come through. So there's a huge amount of elbow drag and front shoulder drag through there. So, potentially could not make your arm feel good. So elevated elbow, that's something that you guys that I want you guys to work on, and you'll have access to that on our online training. All right, what else? Okay, front glove. All right, chest extension here. This is where you're going to help. This is going to help you a ton. So this is, now we already identified the problem a little bit earlier, but we'll show you kind of what the issue is. You're about 25 degrees off the back hip, and what that means is you could be so much further. I want you at like 48. So part of the reason why you're not doing this is because the front knee's not there and your back leg is off the ground. How do you go forward if your back leg is off the ground? There's no stability. And that's what I talked about, that triple extension. So you're off because of the back leg, and that's why you can't get to that 48 degrees with your chest. But if you did that, if you got the back leg pushing for a longer period of time, all of a sudden it gets a lot better and just feels so much better. So, all right. Last one is the arm fly out. I don't think you have it. I think it looks pretty good. Rotating through it. So, it seems like a lot of things, okay? But I don't want you to get discouraged. Think about all of the things that we talked about. Double angle, internally rotated front knee, angle at front knee, front glove, stacking, chest extension, high elbow. Think of all of those things as 1 mile an hour, okay? And that's usually what we're able to do. You're going to get 3 to 4 miles an hour from bands in 6 to 8 weeks. You're going to get 3 to 4 miles an hour with the weighted balls. And you're going to get probably 1 mile an hour per weakness that we work on. So you're looking, we're looking 10 plus in about a year's time. So anyway, thanks for sending these in. I will get this to you as quickly as I can.